Could a simple piece of ancient linen contain a photographic-like image that even modern science cannot fully replicate or explain? Welcome to the Midnight Files channel. Today, we dive deep into one of the most controversial and studied artifacts in human history, the Shroud of Turin, Christ's burial cloth or medieval fake. In the quiet, dimly lit Cathedral of St. John the Baptist in Turin, Italy, resides an object that has ignited more scientific debate, religious devotion, and historical scrutiny than perhaps any other artifact in human existence. It is a simple strip of linen cloth, yellowed with age, bearing the faint, ghostly image of a man who appears to have suffered the horrific trauma of crucifixion. To some, this is the Shroud of Turin, literal burial cloth of Jesus of Nazareth, a silent witness to the resurrection. To others, it is one of the most sophisticated artistic forgeries of the Middle Ages, a relic created to satisfy the medieval hunger for sacred objects. The mystery of the shroud is a journey through centuries of history, cutting-edge, forensic science, and the very limits of what we can prove about the past. The Shroud of Turin is a rectangular linen cloth measuring approximately 4.4 meters long and 1.1 meters wide. It bears the front and back images of a naked man laid head-to-head as if a body had been placed on one half of the cloth, while the other half was folded over, the head down to the feet. The man depicted is bearded, with shoulder-length hair and a muscular build. Most significantly, the body is covered in wounds consistent with the biblical account of Christ's passion, puncture marks around the forehead resembling a crown of thorns, a deep wound in the side, hundreds of lash marks across the back and legs, and wounds in the wrists and feet from being nailed to a cross. For centuries, the shroud was venerated based on faith alone. However, its modern scientific era began in 1898 when an amateur photographer named Secondo Pia was allowed to photograph it. When Pia looked at his photographic plates in the darkroom, he was stunned. The image on the cloth, which appears faint and brown to the naked eye, acted like a photographic negative. In the negative plate, a startlingly detailed and anatomically correct positive image emerged. This discovery changed everything. It implied that the image possessed properties that were not understood in the Middle Ages, nor, some argue, even today. To understand the shroud's origins, we must look at the historical record, which is divided into two distinct periods: the documented history and the speculative, missing years. The shroud's undisputed history begins in the mid-14th century, specifically around 1354, in the small village of Liry, France. It was in the possession of a French knight named Geoffroy de Charny. From its very first public exhibitions, controversy followed. The Bishop of Troyes, Pierre d'Arcis, wrote to the Pope claiming that the cloth was a painting and that he had even found the artist who confessed to making it. Despite this, the shroud gained immense popularity. In 1453, it was transferred to the House of Savoy, and eventually in 1578 it was moved to its permanent home in Turin. The great mystery lies in where the cloth was before 1354. Proponents of the shroud's authenticity often point to the Mendelian, or the image of Edessa, a sacred cloth reported in the Byzantine Empire. They suggest that the shroud was folded in such a way that only the face was visible, and it was taken from Constantinople during the Fourth Crusade in 1204 before resurfacing in France. While this theory bridges the historical, it remains a subject of intense academic debate, as there is no direct, conclusive proof that the Mendelian and the shroud are the same object. The most significant scientific challenge to the shroud's antiquity occurred in 1988. Laboratories at Oxford, Zurich, and the University of Arizona were given small samples of the cloth for radiocarbon dating. The results were bombshell. The labs concluded with 95% confidence that the linen was produced between 1260 and 1390 AD. For many, the case was closed. The shroud was a medieval creation. However, in the decades since, the 1988 test has been criticized by various researchers. Some argue that the sample was taken from a corner of the cloth that had been repaired and rewoven with medieval cotton during the Middle Ages, a theory known as the invisible reweave. Others point to possible contamination from smoke, bacteria, or fire. While the official 1988 result remains the benchmark for skeptics, the debate over the sample's integrity continues to burn. Beyond the date, the image itself remains a scientific anomaly. In 1978, the Shroud of Turin Research Project, or STURP, a team of world-class scientists, was granted 120 hours of direct access to the cloth. Their findings were perplexing. They determined that the image was not made by paint, dye, pigments, or chemicals. There were no brush strokes, and the image only sits on the very topmost layer of the linen fibers, just a few microns deep. Furthermore, they discovered that the image contains three-dimensional information. When analyzed with a VP8 image analyzer, the shroud image produced a perfect 3D relief of a human body, a property that 2D paintings or photographs do not possess. Forensic analysis of the bloodstains on the cloth has added another layer of complexity. STURP and later researchers confirmed that the red marks are actual human blood, specifically identifying it as type AB. They found high levels of bilirubin and hemoglobin, which are characteristic of blood from someone who has undergone extreme physical trauma. Skeptics, however, point out that red ochre and vermilion pigments used by medieval artists have also been detected on the cloth. The question remains, is the blood there because a body was wrapped in it, or was it added by a clever artist to enhance the relic's realism? Another fascinating piece of evidence comes from the field of palynology, the study of pollen. Dr. Max Frey, a Swiss criminologist, identified pollen grains on the shroud that are native only to the Middle East, specifically the region of Israel and Jordan, as well as Turkey. Some researchers have also claimed to find impressions of coins placed over the eyes of the man in the shroud, specifically a lepton coin minted during the time of Pontius Pilate. While these findings are often cited as proof of a Palestinian origin, they have been contested by other scientists who find the evidence for coins and specific pollen types to be inconclusive or subject to misinterpretation. How was the image formed? This is perhaps the most difficult question of all. If it isn't a painting, what is it? Some scientists have proposed Maillard reactions, where gases from a decomposing body react with the starch on the linen. Others have hypothesized a form of radiation or intense light emitted during a moment of resurrection, which would scorch the cloth. To date, no one has been able to perfectly replicate the shroud's image, its negativity, its 3D depth, and its extreme superficiality using technology available in the Middle Ages or even today. As we look at the facts, the Shroud of Turin remains a paradox. If it is a medieval fake, it is a work of genius that anticipated the science of photography and 3D imaging by half a millennium. If it is authentic, it is the most significant archaeological relic in history, providing a physical link to the foundation of the Christian faith. Science has brought us closer to the cloth than ever before, yet the final answer remains just out of reach. It stands as a reminder that even in an age of total information, there are still mysteries that demand we look deeper, question further, and perhaps occasionally accept the unknown. The Shroud of Turin does not give up its secrets easily, and until it does, it will remain one of the most intriguing midnight files of our time. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.